Good morning, CPC kids. This is Shelly here, and I'm so excited that you all could join us for CPC Kids Live here on YouTube Live. And I hope you all are comfy wherever you are watching this. We are so excited for this morning's service. And this month's theme is DIY. Do y'all know what that means? DIY. It means do it yourself. That's right. That's right. If you think about it, forgiveness is a DIY project too, right? No one else can make you forgive someone. You have to choose it yourself, and you'll be a lot better off if you do. But, of course, we know forgiveness is not easy, right? But God thinks it's so important, not just for the person that we forgive, right? But it's important for us too. And remember that forgiveness may be a DIY project, but we don't have to do it alone. God can help us forgive. So we're excited to share that with you today. And before we get started with our story, we'd like to start off with a game. So here's some instructions on the game that we're about to play.
10, 9, 8.
Tilt-a-cup. In this challenge, the contestant must follow step-by-step instructions to create America's newest sensation, the Tilt-a-cup. Step 1, catch a bounced ping-pong ball in an 8-cup stack. Step 2, move the bottom cup to the top. Step 3, repeat until 6 balls have landed in their containers. Step 4, stay focused. Each time a ball is added, the unpredictable Tilt-a-cup grows less and less steady. Failure to complete this task in 60 seconds may result in elimination.
All right, and we are excited to get started here. We have Shelly on my left, Erica on my right, and they're going to be competing to see who can tilt a cup the best. So we have, I believe, 8 cups. We're going to have 8 ping pong balls in them. And without further ado, ready? Well, you kind of jumped the gun, but set, go. Oh, we're already losing balls.
I got it.
All right, we got Erica at 2, Shelly at 1. Erica with an early lead. Someone's been practicing. Erica at 4. This is a one-horse race at this point.
No!
Oh, we got a little comeback coming.
Catching up.
I think we're both at 4 now.
Oh, no.
A little hard to count them. If you run out of those balls, you're going to have
no.
to collect them. Okay, Erica at 5. Shelly at 5. Oh, wow. Oh, Erica's trying. Lost
no.
another one.
Oh, can't use that
Erica
hand.
at 6.
Oh, man.
Shelly still at 5. Struggling to get past that point.
Oh, man. Oh.
Oh, careful. Don't want to spill them. What are we at? We got about 15 seconds left.
Ah.
Oh, don't spill your cups.
Oh.
Oh, not quite, not quite. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and stop.
Did you get all 8? I got 7.
7's pretty good. How many does
6.
Erica have?
6.
6. So we have our winner.
Oh, wait. No, I have 7 too, because this one's empty. Oh, no, that one's empty. That one's empty. You're right.
All right.
That was a lot harder.
Good job, guys. Well, with that, you guys can head on out. Thank you for playing our game. And congratulations to Shelly for her narrow come-from-behind victory. And with that, we want to get into our worship time for the morning. So go ahead and stand up where you are. You can sing along. You can do the motions along with the video. And just take some time to remember who God is and what he's done for us. So here we go.
Everything I want, everything I need, you are. When nobody else is listening to me, you are. Before my heart took its first beat, you already loved me, Lord. And in your kindness, you saved me. are. No matter what may come, the strength that I need, you are. You are. Before my heart took its first beat, you already loved me, Lord. Yes. And in your kindness, you saved me. You're all that I'm living for. Oh, whoa. Amazing is the way you give your life away, so I could be alive forever. I want the world to know. I want my life to show the never-ending love of my Savior. I wanna live your love. I wanna live your love. Ooh. Your love is the reason I'm free. I'm forgiven and singing. Your love is the reason I'm free. I'm forgiven and singing. Your love is the reason I'm free. I'm forgiven and singing. Amazing is the way you give your life away, so I could be alive forever. I want the world to know. I want my life to show the never-ending love of my Savior. I wanna live your love. I wanna live your love.
All right, and welcome back. I hope you guys enjoyed that short time of worship. We miss having you guys here, but we're happy to be able to connect through technology and through YouTube like we're doing here. And as we get into it, I just wanted to remind you guys that this whole month we're learning about forgiveness. Like Shelly said earlier, forgiveness is up to you. And so I wanted to remind you guys about what forgiveness is. So if we can get our forgiveness definition up there. Forgiveness is all about when someone does something that you don't like, you don't want to make them pay for it. We're going to forgive them. That means like I'm not going to hurt them back because they hurt me. I'm going to let it go, and that's what God would want for us. And speaking of, today we're going to be talking about Jesus, and Jesus would often tell stories. If you were here a few weeks ago, we learned about one of these stories. We call those parables that Jesus told about the unmerciful servant and about how that person needed to learn about how if you're forgiven by God, and then you should be able to forgive the people around you. And today we're going to be doing a somewhat similar parable, but the lead up to that is Jesus was always around people. He was always kind of around crowds or around people that he was teaching or healing or doing different miracles for. And in that context, there was some people that were kind of maybe would be considered like outcasts, like people that other people wouldn't really like. Maybe you guys can think of someone at school or on a sports team that maybe like isn't really popular or as well liked. Jesus was always sure to go and spend time with those people and to care for them. And there was some other people that didn't really like Jesus. They were called Pharisees. And the Pharisees, they really didn't like those outcasts, and they really didn't like that Jesus was hanging out with those people. They thought that that was wrong, that Jesus was doing something bad, and so they told him about that one time. They said, like, Jesus, you should not be hanging out with those kinds of people. They're not good. We don't like them. They're doing bad things. Let's just get them out of the picture. And so in response to that, Jesus tells this parable. So this story has two halves. This week we're going to cover the first half, and then so make sure you tune in next week to get the second half of the story because it's kind of a longer one. But our story starts with a family that lives on a farm. So imagine like rolling green hills and maybe like a red barn, and over on one side there's some goats, and on another side there's some sheep and some cows, and maybe they're growing some nice potatoes or something like that. Just a nice farm, and everything's happy. And the farm is owned by a man who we're going to call the father. So he's the dad of the family, and he owns the farm, and he cares for it, and he hires people to come work at it. And the father has two sons. Of course, one is the older son, and then one is the younger son. This week, we're really going to be focused on the younger son. So he's kind of the star of the story today. Everything was nice at our farm. The family was happy. But over time, for whatever reason, the younger son, he kind of gets discontent. He's not really as happy where he is. And so one day, he goes to his father and he says, the Bible tells us, he says, "Father, give me my share of the family property." What that means is he's asking for his what we call inheritance, and an inheritance is kind of something that people would receive then when like their parent passes away. So basically, by asking for that at this time, he was sort of saying like, "Dad, I don't really care about you. I don't really care if you're around. I just want to leave. I just want to do my own thing. So can you just give me my money? I don't care about you. Only your money." Obviously, that was not a nice thing for him to do. It was not cool. But the father loved the son, and so he gave him what he asked for. And the son took his leave. He left the farm behind, and he moved far away. Um, and at first, everything was good for him. He bought, let's say, like a really nice apartment to himself, and he was able to buy good food and eat whatever he wanted, and he had lots of friends, and he bought all kinds of fun games and toys, and anything he wanted really was his because his father gave him a pretty large amount of money. So he was able to do whatever he wanted, really. And like him and his friends would hang out, and he would buy all his friends food, and maybe they would all go to the store and they would get root beer floats and whatever they wanted, they had it. But some time passes, and eventually, maybe like they go to the store, and he doesn't really have enough money for those root beer floats anymore. And his friends aren't too happy with that, and they say, "Well, maybe we can just go play games instead, I guess." But they're not really happy with it. And then one day, his money really, there's not much left. And so, in order to pay for food, he sells his games and his toys that he really liked. And his friends are like, "Well, now we don't even have this to do, so we don't really like you anymore." So they just leave, and they're gone, and the friends are gone, and his money's gone, and all his fun stuff is gone. Eventually, he has to sell his apartment just to be able to buy anything. And so he's really desperate. And at this point, he has nothing. He's pretty much lost everything that he had. And so he takes a really bad, gross job taking care of pigs. And if you've ever seen a pig before, they're not known for their cleanliness. They are generally gross, they generally smell bad, and taking care of pigs is probably not the best job in the world. For him, it was just rock bottom. This was the worst he could get. And the thing with that job is it still didn't pay him that much. He was barely getting by. And so to just be able to eat, sometimes he would eat the food that the pigs ate, which is, you can imagine, just really gross. Not something that a person should be eating. But he had nothing else. He was desperate because he hadn't managed what his father gave him. He just went crazy with it, and he made a huge mistake. And you can imagine at this point, he's feeling pretty bad, and he is not liking where he's at. And he's kind of thinking about where he used to be on his farm. Like, remember those nice grassy hills and all the nice animals and the place that his father cares for. And he thinks, "Man, I wish I had never left. Maybe I can go back, and I'm sure my father won't accept me back as his son again because I messed that up. But maybe I can ask for him to hire me as someone who works there. Maybe I can like take care of the sheep on the farm because my father's servants, they always ate really well, so I won't have that problem, and I'll have a bed to sleep in. It's definitely going to be better than where I'm at now." So without a second thought, he leaves the pigs behind. And he makes the trip back to his father's house. And as he's going, he's thinking, kind of practicing what he's going to say. Like, he has a lot of anxiety, and he decides that what he's going to say is, "Father, I have sinned against heaven, and I have sinned against you. I am no longer fit to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants." So he's kind of saying that over to himself and practicing, and he's nervous, and he doesn't know how his father's going to react or how his brothers are going to react or how like the other people in the house, and he doesn't know if he's going to be welcome there at all or if they're just going to tell him to leave, or he has no clue. So he kind of comes up over the hill where the farm is, and meanwhile, his dad is at home and misses him every day, always wondering like how he's doing and where he is and what's going on in his life, and just hoping that he's happy. And his dad probably had the habit of kind of looking out the window and maybe just imagining where he was. And On this day, the son comes up over the hill, and the dad is looking, and he sees him, and he recognizes him, and he's not mad, he's not angry or unforgiving. He is so excited to see his son there that he just takes off running. He leaves the house, he leaves the farm, and he's just running up this hill, like uphill, just booking it. And he gets to his son and hugs him, and the son says the words he had practiced: "Father, I've sinned against heaven, and I have sinned against you. I am no longer fit to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants." And the father was hardly listening to him because he was just hugging him, and he immediately called for his servants to bring out the best clothes and to bring out the best food, because it's party time now. Because the son has come home, everything is better. The father instantly forgives him. He doesn't hold any record of the wrong things the son has done. Yeah. Can we get our bottom line up? And with that, it's important for us to remember that everyone needs to be forgiven, no matter who they are. Because Jesus told this story to the Pharisees because it was a reminder of God's love. So in the story, the father is kind of like God, and the younger son is kind of like all of us, really, because God gives us all so much that we don't deserve, and we don't repay it well because we try to do everything on our own, and we leave him behind, and we just don't do a good job. And when we try to go out on our own, we always mess it up, like the younger son did. We just aren't able to go out and be successful and do the things we want to do. It might work for a little bit, like it did for this younger son, how he was able to have friends and have a nice home and have nice food for a little. But eventually that's going to run out because that's just our nature. That's just who we are. But the thing with God is he will always welcome us back, no matter how far we've gone, no matter how long we've been gone, no matter what we did while away. God always welcomes us back, and he is always forgiving no matter what. And the Pharisees here, they have forgotten that part of God, and they are judging the people that Jesus hangs out with, and they don't care that Jesus has done that Jesus wants to forgive them and that God wants to forgive them. They just want to judge them, and they just want to put them down. And so in our lives, we don't want to be like that. We want to remember that everybody needs to be forgiven no matter who they are. Even if like your friends don't like them, or even if it's someone that's hard for you to like. That doesn't mean you necessarily need to be their best friend, but it does mean that you are not going to make them pay for the things they've done. Because remember, that's what forgiveness is. And we want to forgive people the way God did, the way the father did in the story. Remember, he was so excited to see his son come back to him, even though he had hurt him so badly. And that's what we want to do, because that's what Jesus would do. And with that, can we get our memory verse up on the screen? So our memory verse is: "Bear with each other and forgive one another. If any of you has a grievance against someone, forgive as the Lord forgave you." Colossians 3:13. And again, that memory verse is just a reminder that God has forgiven us, and so we want to forgive others. We don't want to forget what God has done for us, because God has given us such a great gift, and we don't want to waste that. So with that, I am going to hand it off to Shelly, and she will tell you about what we got going this week.
All right. Thanks so much. Thank you so much, Daniel. That was so good. Boys and girls, can you guys say the bottom line with me? Who needs to be forgiven? If you said everyone, you're right. Everyone needs to be forgiven. That's why Jesus died for us. And anytime you mess up, you don't ever have to wonder if God's going to forgive you. You know he will. All you have to do is ask. That's right. Boys and girls, we are so excited again that you could join us today for CPC Kids Live. Be sure to check out our website. We actually have 3 worship Sunday morning experiences with our normal Bible story, as well as the so-and-so show. There's more. The worship song we just did is up there. We even have on our YouTube live channel, parents, if you haven't seen it, there's a special video just for the preschoolers that Sita and her daughters put together. Be sure to check it out. And we'll be posting more this week on on our YouTube live channel with some videos to follow up with our elementary story, games and activities that you guys can do together. You won't want to miss it, so be sure to check that out. Again, we love you all. We miss you. Hope you're having a great morning, and we'll see you soon. Bye.